Sam Smyers here. Today I want to talk about how to use the Pro G by Fabfilter. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel. And if you are new here, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel because that will help you stay updated with future videos that are just like this. If you're truly interested in improving your mixing skills, then check out my Modern Mix Academy. This is a full online mixing course that I created that will show you everything that I know about mixing, and it will help you make amazing mixes from the comfort of your own home that you can be proud to share with your friends, family, and your fans. I'll put a link down below for you to check that out. The Pro G from Fabfilter is a gate plugin or an expander plugin. A gate is a more extreme version of an expander where if any audio falls below a threshold, then it will completely mute that audio, whereas an expander will just reduce the level of that audio even further. I'm gonna go through a couple of ways that we might use a gate, for example, on some drums or some vocals like speech. For example, in this video, I'll probably use a gate to reduce any breaths or background noise. And then I wanna show you some of the more expert options that you have available to you on the Pro G, and also how we might use some upward expansion. Let me go ahead and play you this snare track here. And notice that you can hear the hi-hat and also some of the kick coming through. And what we want to do is put on the Pro G to gate out all of that background noise so that we just hear that snare. Let's open up the Pro G, and this is what the Pro G looks like. For the default setting, we have the threshold, the ratio, the range, attack, release, hold, knee, and look ahead. And you have some different algorithms that you can use. I'll use classic for now. Your ratio here, if you set this to 100:1, then that is going to be a gate. And the range, if you set this to 100 dB, then that is also going to turn this into a gate. If it is anything less than that, then it turns more into an expander, where it's not 100% going to silence the audio as it falls down below that threshold, but it's just going to reduce it by some amounts. And you can actually determine the amount that you want to reduce the audio by going to my range here, and I could say that anytime that the audio falls below that threshold, maybe I only want it to go down a maximum of 10 dB, and I can set my range like that. In this example, I actually am going to be using the gate, so I want it to be set all the way to the max. And let's just go ahead and start lowering my threshold here. And maybe I'll start with something like that. I have an accent on the snare right here, and then these larger hits, these larger transients here. I'm still getting some of those kick sounds coming through, and the gate is opening for those kicks, but I'm gonna get to how we could filter those out. Now I'm gonna go to my release here and start adjusting the release. If I have this release faster, then the gate will clamp down quicker and you'll have a tighter sounding snare. And listen to what happens when I open up this release. You get a longer tail on that snare. I'm gonna set the release to maybe around here. Make sure I've got a pretty fast attack, and this hold, the hold will determine a set amount of time that gate will stay open. So basically for this hold, I could have it open up for 10 milliseconds. And that means that anytime audio comes up above the threshold, the gate's gonna stay open for a minimum of 10 milliseconds, no matter how quickly that signal goes down below that threshold. And then the release is going to determine how quickly that gate closes after the audio signal goes below the threshold. Basically, your hold and your release work together. It really depends on your audio signal, on what you are actually going to set them at. So all I can say is you just have to really play around with the settings on your release and hold. And I might turn on this look ahead to trigger this gate a few milliseconds before the actual signal comes in, just to make sure that I'm capturing all of that transient from the snare. And then I might leave this knee alone, but you could adjust the knee and make it a bit of a softer knee if you would like. Now to filter out some of the kick information that's coming through that gate, I'm going to go to the expert mode, open that up, and you've got some options for the sidechain. You have either your internal sidechain and your external sidechain, and you can filter off some of the frequencies of the actual sidechain. So I hear some cymbals coming through, and I'm going to filter off some of the high end, and I also hear some of the kick coming through, so I want to filter off some of the low end. I want to hit this audition button and start listening to the sidechain. Now let's go ahead and turn off this audition. And I'll make some further adjustments. And I might do something like that where I'm actually taking a very small range here between 200 Hertz and 780 Hertz that I am inputting into that gate just to make sure that I'm getting this snare sound. I have a little accent in the snare here, and I just want to make sure that the gate opens up for that accent, but not for the kick. And I think this now is a pretty good setting. And then I can go ahead and add on some effects to that snare. Maybe I want to put on a compressor to make it a bit more punchy and EQ it a bit without having any of that background noise coming through. And we could also do the same thing for a kick. I could put the Pro G on a kick. Let's go ahead and just play the kick by itself. You can hear the snare in there. You can hear some cymbals. We can put on the Pro G, and you could even try a preset. I could go to the drums here and let's say kick short, and we can see what it's doing here. We've got the sidechain on. We've got a moderate release, fast attack, and let's just go ahead and see how this sounds. And so that sounds pretty good, and that works well with that preset. And that's what you could do if you don't really know where to start. You could start with the preset and then adjust your settings after turning on that preset. There's some good ones in here for bass. You've got bass, drums, effects, guitar, and also vocal. Let's go ahead and move on to how we might use the Pro G on a vocal. Let's listen to this vocal here. Now we can see that it's already cut off down here around 20. That's me talking, and you hear that breath at the beginning. Let's see if we can use the Pro G to cut out that breath. I'm going to go ahead and set it on the vocal setting. And we can see that it's already cut off down, and adjust the threshold here. And we can see that it's already cut off down here around 20. And we can see that it's already cut off. And we can see that, and I think that sounds pretty good. I'm just cutting off that breath. And if I set it like that, then for this whole vocal file, this whole audio file, it'll make sure that it's cutting out the breaths and capturing my voice. And if that isn't quite cutting it, then you can go into the expert options and mess around with the sidechain. But in this example, I feel like just using the basic settings works good enough for this vocal here. And if it sounds weird to automatically chop out those breaths, then you can set this ratio to a bit lower and maybe lower this range even further so that you're really just lowering the breaths and maybe lowering the background if you don't want to completely eliminate it. So that's how you might use the Pro G on some vocals. Let's talk about some more of the expert options in the Pro G. I have a marimba here. And I'm going to pan that all the way to the left. And then I also have another marimba, which is the same marimba. I just pitched it down lower, and I'm going to pan that all the way to the right here. So altogether, I have this. And I'm just going to do this because this will help you understand how these expert options work in the Pro G. Now I sent that marimba from the left channel and the right channel into a group, and I put the Pro G on it. Let's go ahead and open up this expert mode, and you have this left and right channel mode here and the mid inside. The left and right channel mode, I'll turn that on, and you have these knobs here for the left side and the right side. I'll turn on this audition so that we can listen to our sidechain. This knob on the outside is going to determine where the signal is coming from, and the knob on the inside is going to determine the gain of that signal. This is going to be the right side of the mix, and if I turn this knob all the way to the right, then the signal is only going to be coming from the right. If I have it in the middle, then it's going to be coming from both the left and right. Let's turn on the gain on my left channel and listen to our right channel now. Because this slider is in the middle, you hear that high marimba and that low marimba. Let me slide it all the way to the right now. And now you just hear that low marimba, and the same would happen for the left. If I turn it all the way to the left, you'll just hear that high marimba. So let's say I just want that right side to be the signal that I'm using for the right side of that sidechain. And then let's turn off this audition here and start lowering the threshold. And you'll notice that the audio is only coming from the right side because I have this mix turned all the way down. If I start raising this up, then we'll start to hear that left channel coming in. Let's go ahead and put this left slider all the way to the left and play the track. So there you have some different options for triggering the gate with your left and right channels. If I wanted the right channel to be the signal coming in to that left channel, I could do that. So we are hearing that left channel, but actually the right channel is triggering it. It's a bit confusing and can be complicated. I'm not really sure when you'd really need to use this that much, but just know that it's there. Another option that you might choose to use is this mid-side channel mode. And let's just go ahead and turn on this one marimba and turn off the low marimba here. And let's bypass this real quick. And now this knob is going to relate to the sides, and this knob is going to relate to the mid. If I turn down this mid here, then only the sides are going to come through. If I turn this outer knob to the sides here, let's hit audition, and also turn off the bypass. That is going to be the sides. For some reason, they put it in the right channel whenever you hit this audition. Let's go ahead and turn that off and listen to the audio now. And now we have just the sides coming through, and we know it's the sides because if I put on a utility plugin and switch it into mono, the sides will disappear. Because the sides are just the difference between the left and the right channel, and they're only apparent whenever you have a stereo mix. I could also turn this all the way down and then turn up the mid mix here. Let's turn on this audition. That's just going to be the mids. And then let's go ahead and adjust our gate here. And now we just hear the mids coming through. And then if I raise up the sides now, now our gate is allowing more of the mids come through than the sides. You have some creative options here for adjusting your mid inside. One unique thing that I think you can really use this mid side mode is for some upward expansion. Let's say I put this on upward and I have the sides set here to be around 0 dB, and let's go ahead and turn down the mids. Now you are going to be raising up the sides as they cross that threshold, because upward expansion, as the signal crosses the threshold, it pushes it up louder. And let's go ahead and check that out now. Now, as I bypassed that and turned it back on, you should probably hear those sides getting a lot louder whenever I turn it back on, because I'm adding some upward expansion to those sides. One of my favorite ways to use upward expansion is on a mix that might be a little overcompressed. You could add some upward expansion to get some more transients back. And I actually really like this preset here that is called the Mastering Subtle Stereo Expansion, because this is going to be adding some expansion to the sides of your mix. And let's go ahead and bypass this, and I'll play a mix here of one of my songs. And then I'll go ahead and turn on the Pro G, and we can hear the difference. Now you should hear the sides being louder and being expanded. And I think that's a really nice touch that you can add to your master to get some more width from your sides. And we can see what's going on here. We've got the wet and dry knobs here. It's blending in some of the dry mix with the wet mix. And it's also using the sidechain here, just using some information from the higher frequencies. And you can see we've got the mid and side mode on. So we're adding some more expansion to those sides than the actual mids. And I actually really like this preset. I think you should try it when you're doing a master and see if it works and make sure masters sound good. You also have some options for oversampling here. If you are putting the Pro G on your master for mastering, then I do recommend that you probably at least do 2x oversampling. So that is how you might use the Pro G, and I hope that those examples help you understand some applications for the Pro G. Drums are really important to gate drums so that you get a clean signal from things like your kick and your snare. And you can also use the Pro G or a gate on vocals. And then you also have some options for upward expansion and playing around with the mid and side and the stereo field of your mix. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel, because that will help you stay updated with future videos that are just like this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.